So you need to
There must be
consider
some support for the person. You have to change your ways of working, don't you?
You do, yeah. So the person, people come into this, and you know that's back to comms and education, and you know the capabilities that they have.
And distractions.
Homework. In terms of homework, then you have to look very carefully at health and safety.
Yes, that is a really good one.
You have to provide the same level of care as you would in the workplace for the person who's working out of their own home.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. And we get into insurance and
all sorts
of areas.
I mean, obviously there's a benefit for the home worker to suit their lifestyle or whatever it may be. But the downside is obviously the health and safety, but also the interaction. I mean, I work remotely from my organisation all over the globe, not in the UK. So the downside is my interaction with those people, whilst it's over, you know, web cameras and things like this, it's not face to face. You don't get that same. So that's a downside.
So
My energy,
social element.
when I work from home, my energy consumption goes through the roof because I have to do 3 loads of washing every day.
Yeah. No, it's true though, because there is, and if you take, you know, 10,000 households who are all doing something,
And the kettle going every 5 minutes.
that's it. Yeah.
My auntie's actually just stopped working from home because of that issue, that her energy bills were just through the roof because she's at home all day rather than being in the office.
Yeah, well, you're offsetting. In effect, you're going from a centralised approach, you know, which normally a centralised approach delivers, you might expect to deliver more efficiencies, to a localised approach. Now, you may still heat your house, you may still have lights on in the house, etc., etc. So, you know, it's not a simple thing to deduce, but just the fact that you're not making that journey between A and B is not sufficient reason to say environmentally it's an improvement.
Well, I mean, I live 5 minutes away from here, and I could do the exact same job as I do upstairs at my house.
Yeah.
But again, for all the other reasons of being away from the environment and productivity and everything else, I chose to pay the extra and come into the office and work from an office.
Well, some people definitely, you know, this remote working.
Some people prefer working at home, some people, you know,
some people can't work at home.
I can't. You know, the telly goes on, I work with the telly on.
I think it depends on the individual. So I think part of it, to get some of these solutions to work, I think is what we've discovered in IT over the years, is actually you need to be quite specific about who it works for. Instead of actually averaging it out in your business model, say I can take these 10% of people, this kind of person, we could get to do that. The problem is you end up with more variation. So it's compromising. You may be able to have 3 types of people, but not 20 because that gets too difficult to manage. But I do think we've actually learned that you've got to be much more specific about your business case in IT. IT's traditionally done business cases, but it's never followed up. And we've done changes that actually don't deliver benefits, which is why Ian's being very cautious. You know, because actually you do things like this, and I think some of it's about modelling more simply. So can we actually model reduction in travel against just energy consumption and cost of broadband at home? So it's a little bit easy to understand. It's a big business cases with lots of columns and rows and don't help either, do they?
In a way, you could look, you know, we talked about virtualisation coming in of other things and actually generating huge benefit for environment, you know, green IT in terms of green. In a way, you could say this is similar. It's probably more of a social solution, to be honest. It's more of a social solution, but what it can do is drive innovation. I think it can drive the technologies, capabilities, efficiencies to drive green into what people do. But it is a balancing act, and you're right. The business case, you don't want to get too heavy about it, potentially, but equally it does need to be considered. And it may come down to more social, you know, people's own preferences, actually, at this point. Then you go into the comms and awareness and education that drives people to think, well, actually, I think, you know, actually people start making their own decisions on it, start to make decisions based on environmental sustainability, as opposed maybe to, or, you know, certain balancing it with their own social needs. So it kind of, you know, it drives that way, I think. That's the way I see the remote working going. Makes sense. Okay, I'm going to flick over to a couple of slides now. So it's W, isn't it? I need to hit now, is that right?
Yes, should be.
Technologies. I'm going to leave that for a minute. I'm going to talk to a couple of case studies. I've sort of talked to this one already, but it's just interesting. I think it helps to maybe hopefully bring out some conversation again. So this organisation produced a climate change strategy, and I noticed, Peter, I think you produced a climate change strategy and an action plan on the website, and so they did a similar thing. This was fairly high level in 2000, well, very high level, let's be honest. It was very high level in 2008. And the words were kind of, fairly non-specific, very non-specific. But they recognised that, this is an important point, that IT has the ability to be an enabler for the businesses it supports. So it's not only about reducing the data centre output, the office equipment outputs, but also you can enable the business. So something like, some of the things like SAP, for example, these things, if you look at them carefully, can have, you can also identify environmental benefits in what you're providing to the business. It was commissioned to assist in developing a strategy for IT energy efficiency, carbon emissions reduction, and it used proven consultancy techniques and supporting tools. Now, this slide may or may not, this slide is not the detailed slide, the sort of thing that you were talking about and John, but this is a view of the data centre. And what we ran the modelling tool to understand what the benefits, this is looking at the benefits that could be achieved from different activities within the data centre. It includes the facilities equipment as well as the data centre IT equipment itself. You can see this massive slice is actually virtualised. Yeah, sure, I will, yeah. So, sorry you can't see this very well. This is virtualisation at 53%. Now, this was the organisation actually that had already done some virtualisation, and this was looking at the whole benefit actually. It wasn't looking at so we incorporated in this slide the benefit they'd already achieved by virtualisation, as well as the benefit that they would achieve going forward. So you can see how big a slice that is. So it is really important, virtualisation, as a way to relatively easily, I won't say very easily, but relatively easily bring about real energy consumption reductions. The technology is proven now, I would say. This is not leading edge that we're talking about. Okay, it's a biggest project to do it, but the actual, it's not brand new. The other major area over here, this is technology refresh. So this is thinking about things like replacing your machines, your equipment, with other equipment that is more energy efficient, and there's been major advances in that area. Now, this probably, this might happen alongside of the virtualisation again. It might be part of the same program. You might have a regular technology refresh cycle. The important thing about this is probably that what you need to think about is if you have a current depreciation cycle for your equipment, there are pros and cons to changing that, or there are pros and cons as to which way you change that depreciation cycle. It may be that it is actually more energy efficient to keep what you have for longer, or it may be more energy efficient to reduce the depreciation cycle on your equipment and buy equipment that is far more energy efficient. It kind of depends what you're running now, a whole host of other things. But this can be a major change because of the advances in technology and energy